On Monday, the ousted and jailed former leader of Myanmar, Aung San Suu Kyi, was allowed to meet with a representative from the Red Cross after years of questions over her well-being. It comes at a time when Myanmar's military-backed regime, still embroiled in a brutal and pretty deadlocked civil war, has been making progress towards ending its pariah status and normalizing relations with its neighbors, with recent official visits to India, China, Laos, and Thailand. So in this video, we're going to explain the latest from Myanmar, the regime's bid to end its international isolation, and the direction of the civil war. Explore which world leaders are winning and which are losing every week on our podcast, the World Leader Leaderboard. Find it over on the TLDR podcast YouTube channel or in your favourite podcast app. As ever, it's important to start with some brief context as to how and why Myanmar's civil war broke out in the first place. A military coup in February 2021 overthrew Myanmar's democratically elected government, ending a short-lived period of imperfect democracy, during which time Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy won landslide victories in 2015 and 2020. The coup sparked widespread civil resistance, which was met with lethal military repression, sending the country spiralling into a full-scale civil war. This has pitted the military against the newly formed pro-democracy armed resistance, in the form of the People's Defence Force, or PDF. But the military has also been battling an array of powerful, long-established ethnic armed organisations that have been fighting central authorities for decades, seeking greater autonomy in their peripheral regions. Through 2023 and 2024, the military lost swathes of territory to various ethnic armed organisations and the PDF. However, it has managed to retain control of the country's population centres, and over the past year and a half or so, it has clawed back some of its territorial losses and launched new offensives. There have been some notable political changes too. For the first 5 years since the 2021 coup, the country was ruled by a military junta, led by Army Chief Min Aung Hlaing. However, in a bid to legitimize the post-coup regime, the military held a stage-managed election in December last year and January this year. It was neither free nor fair, and only held in government-controlled areas. Unsurprisingly, the military-aligned USDP won comfortably. Min Aung Hlaing officially relinquished his military post to become a civilian, and the new parliament appointed him as the president of Myanmar. Establishing himself as the leader of a nominally civilian government was a key step in Min Aung Hlaing's efforts to end the regime's international isolation and normalize relations with key regional partners. And it's in this realm that things have been progressing in the regime's favour. In late May, early June, in his first foreign trip since becoming president, Min Aung Hlaing went on an official visit to India, where, over the course of 5 days, he met with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and other government officials to discuss bilateral cooperation in areas like trade, defence, border management, and more. For India, which shares a more than 1,600-kilometre border with Myanmar, direct cooperation with the Burmese government is seen as essential to prevent any spillover from the civil war, counter Chinese influence in the region, and protect infrastructure projects. Later in June, Min Aung Hlaing went off on a 5-day red carpet visit to China, which has been a key backer of the regime since the 2021 coup. Like India, China also has considerable economic interests in Myanmar and is keen to maintain stability and security along its 2,100-kilometre shared border. But one of Min Aung Hlaing's primary goals is to normalise relations with ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Myanmar is a member of the group, but has been shunned from its summits ever since the civil war erupted in 2021. However, in the face of the protracted civil war and the resilience of the regime that is now in civilian clothing, some members of ASEAN are keen to re-engage with Myanmar's government. Chief among these is Thailand, for whom relations with Myanmar are a pressing question, given that they share a nearly 2,500-kilometre border. Bringing about some kind of stability is a goal of the Thai government, as the current lack of it presents all sorts of issues, like cross-border violence, refugee flows, and criminality, including drug trafficking and infamous cyber scam compounds that have proliferated in Myanmar's borderlands. In a sign of Thailand's self-professed calibrated re-engagement with Myanmar, Min Aung Hlaing visited Thailand this week. Thai Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul said that this approach keeps dialogue open and responds to realities on the ground, while encouraging concrete progress, noting that Aung San Suu Kyi meeting with a Red Cross representative was a sign of things moving in the right direction. While the Thailand trip is particularly notable, Min Aung Hlaing has already broken ASEAN diplomatic quarantine with an official visit to neighbouring Laos in early July. ASEAN, however, remains divided. Other members are much more opposed, and the Philippines foreign minister, whose country is the bloc's chair this year, said that Myanmar's return to top ASEAN meetings is still far off. ASEAN originally barred Myanmar from participating in its summits because of its failure to implement the 5-point consensus, a 2021 post-coup agreement between ASEAN and Myanmar that sought to end the violence in the country with an immediate ceasefire and kickstart dialogue between all parties with the goal of a peaceful resolution. The 5-point consensus is still officially the foundation of ASEAN's efforts to resolve the conflict, but has proven largely ineffective in effecting change. In fact, Min Aung Hlaing spoke out against it last month, affirming his government's determination to pursue its own solution to the conflict. Myanmar's parliament similarly adopted a measure that rejected the 5-point consensus, dismissing it as foreign interference that is inconsistent with the reality on the ground. That there are moves by some within ASEAN to re-engage with the Myanmar government, despite its open rejection of the 5-point consensus, is clearly a win for Min Aung Hlaing. We therefore should not view the government's recent permitting of a meeting between the detained Aung San Suu Kyi and a Red Cross representative as a sign that Myanmar is opening up, or that the military is loosening its grip. Rather, to quote Sebastian Strangio writing for the Diplomat magazine, it was a cost-free move that intended to weaken ASEAN's resolve to hold Myanmar to the 5-point consensus and widen the divisions between the bloc's member states. Parallel to the diplomatic maneuvering, the civil war continues. Intensified aerial bombing campaigns, new conscripts, and a number of Chinese-brokered truces with several ethnic armed groups along the border have all bolstered the military. It's regarded as Asia's deadliest active conflict, with more than 100,000 people killed and millions displaced. Civilians have borne the brunt of the direct and indirect impacts, whether that's violence, particularly the military's aerial bombardments, or displacement, hunger, economic pressure, forced conscription, and more. But for all of the military's recent successes, in terms of battlefield control, analysts do not describe the military as winning. They have managed to stabilize their position and are more confident than they were 2 years ago. But to quote one analyst, rather than winning, the military has reached a point where it is no longer in a state of continuous defeat. With military victory not on the cards for either side, the civil war has largely settled into a deadly, multi-front stalemate that will take far more international attention and diplomatic activity to resolve than it currently gets. The autumn issue of our magazine, Too Long, is now available for pre-order. The main story inside is all about the plan to fix Europe. From the economy and trade to politics and war, we discuss the various ways in which Europe could be reborn. Then there's the global section, which includes our interview with The Economist's Washington bureau chief about the state of America. There's also articles on the current status of US-China relations, as well as discussing the politics of disasters, the Pope's involvement in 21st century politics, and the death of the dollar. The EU section includes the latest from the war in Ukraine, how Germany's rearmament could defend Europe, as well as more stories from across the continent. The UK section unpacks Britain's new Prime Minister, as well as the various rumbling issues from Brexit some 10 years on that still plague Burnham. That's just some of the stories in this issue though, with us also launching a brand new business section to go alongside the relaunch of the TLDR Business YouTube channel this month. If you're interested in hearing our takes on all of those topics, then you can get the very best deal by subscribing to Too Long. Subscribers automatically get 20% off every issue as long as they're subscribed. But if you use code AUGUST26, you'll get an additional £3 off your first copy. Plus, if you want more from TLDR, then you can also subscribe to Too Long and TLDR Party in one bundle. The cheapest way to get both subscriptions. Regardless, thank you so much for watching this video and for supporting TLDR.